Hello.
Hi.
And welcome back to another episode of Break Room Banter.
It is a hairstylist adjacent podcast where each week,
Two friends
who also happen to be hairstylists,
break down our weeks in the break room. I'm your host, Hunter Walden.
and I am your hostess, Ericka the Red.
And today we have friend of the pod, friend of me, on Megan. Hello. Thanks for being here. Megan is the founder of TRUNUTRITION and Wellness, hairstylist of over 35 years, former bodybuilder,
Period.
and overall wellness coach. And we're really excited today to dive in to talk about wellness from the standpoint of a hairdresser, from how we can remain healthy and maintain a state of wellness behind the chair where it might be a little more difficult for us to get a grasp on those things.
Yes, I agree. I love that you, as a hairstylist, having a little bit of my own history in the fitness world as well, and knowing what it takes to eat clean and all those things. It can be hard as a hairstylist because most of us live on 3 or 4 cups of coffee until dinner time, or eating whatever is close, or Uber Eats too much instead of meal prepping. So I just think that you have a really unique perspective to teach us hairstylists how to do it, because you've lived that life, you've been that world, you've done both things and them on their own. So I just think it brings a really unique perspective for us. Whereas someone who doesn't know might not be able to relate to what they're like, just pack lunch and just stop and eat. What do you mean you don't get a break?
Yeah, what do you mean you don't get a 30-minute lunch break?
That's illegal. Well, it is what it is, buddy. This is how I get paid, okay? So no, I don't have, 3 30-minute breaks to stop and eat. So I appreciate that. I think it's really good. And
before we get started though,
yeah.
How was your week, everyone?
My week's been awesome.
Your mic was turned off.
I had your mic turned off through the intro.
So I didn't even get my hello, whatever.
It'll be fine. It'll be fine. It'll be fine.
Week was good. My week was good. I went to dinner last night with some friends.
Who are those friends?
Oh my God. We all went to dinner last night.
We did. We had a very extended dinner.
The food was very good.
The service was a little terrible.
Not so much.
Well, we got to spend more time together.
I mean, we did.
A lot of time. Like an hour.
And I ate a lot of Brussels sprouts.
Yeah. You did. You ordered Brussels sprouts.
Little peppers.
Those were so good.
We don't know what they are, though, right?
Yeah, we don't know. They were tiny.
I mean, I enjoyed them, and I don't like peppers.
Tiny pickled peppers.
Tiny pickled peppers.
But yeah, my week's been good. How about yours, Hunty?
It was pretty good.
Yeah.
It was pretty good.
And what about yours, Megan?
She's already said pretty good, but tell us more.
Yeah.
It is. So it's been good. I'm kind of in the salon a little bit still, and then still doing some stuff at home. So it makes it for a busy week.
I love it. So we obviously talked a little bit last night, so we've already talked about this. But for the people listening, okay, so you are a former bodybuilder, but also a hairstylist and an educator, and now you are transitioning back into the fitness world. What prompted that switch for you?
Well, it was one of those things, one thing has always evolved from the next thing. And I think I was probably the last generation that was smoking and coffee. We lived on coffee and cigarettes 30 years ago. It was awesome. But then, you just get to the point where you can't do those things, right? So, of course, then I end up having, my son. I was 25 when I was pregnant. So then you got to take care of your body. You can't have coffee and cigarettes all day. So then you start to transition and you learn about, eating better and those things. And then it was, running with my friends. And then I got into Ironman. I did 3 Ironmans. And you have to learn how to feed your body in a different way.
Yeah.
So it was just one thing turned into the next. And then I think I've tried every, you were saying, bodybuilding. I dieted down, I reverse dieted, I had a diet back. I had a terrible trainer, and I had metabolic damage from that. Yeah, from 6 weeks of dieting. It took me 3 months to get my body back on track after that. So I've done all sorts of dieting things, and So just depending on where I was. And then I was 48 and I was, cutting hair behind the chair, doing all the things, and like 20 pounds came out of nowhere. And I tried everything that I knew from before and it didn't work. Like I was cutting calories, I was running more. I think I was like just short of having a, what do you call it? Eating disorder.
Yeah.
I just could not stand it anymore.
Mhm.
So finally I was like, you know what? I got to get back to school on all of this.
Mhm.
And, people just use little parts of diet culture and they twist it and they confuse it and then they sell it to people and it's complete bullshit. And that is the part that I was like, I got to clear this stuff up. I got to figure out why does this, something did work for me, but now it's not working. So as your body changes, you've got to learn how to adapt to it as well. And it's just as simple as that.
And what's your mission with what you're doing, sharing everything that you're sharing?
So my big thing is that your body is meant to heal itself. Like all of those symptoms and signals that your body is giving you, it's telling you something. It's telling you something about your blood sugar. It's telling you something about your cortisol or your stress level. And your food is the direct correlation with that. And that's what I want to do is I want to just uncover all of these twisted diet culture fads and then just teach you how to read your signals and how to use these, different things to work in your own body.
I love that.
Like I have
Because-
some clients, that intermittent fast. I have some clients that carb cycle. Some do really great at macro tracking. So it's just, you got to find what works for you and what works for your body.
Well, it's like the best diet is the one you can stick to. They
Yes.
say like, and it doesn't really, I have done carb cycling. I've done intermittent fasting. I've done them both at the same time and I had great results. And then 6 weeks later, I was in the kitchen eating 10 peanut butter and jelly sandwiches in a row because I was like, I need fucking carbs, right? So like, I just think that's really cool. And I am curious if someone that's listening to this right now, like if they were like, I need her help, so they get a hold of you, they sign up with you. What does it look like once someone's signed up with you? How do you start them on a program like this?
So the interesting thing is that everybody wants to think about calories, right?
Mhm.
And the whole thing is so confusing. Nobody eats enough calories. I'm just going to say that. And nobody eats, of course, the right amount of calories. So the first thing we're going to do is we're going to set you up with calories. And it's going to freak you out, So we have to start somewhere. So we start you out with calories and you log your food. So when you log your food, what I'm looking for is I'm looking for, number one, what is your basic knowledge of food, good food? What is your choices that you make? What does your meal timing look like? What do your balances look like? Those kinds of things. Then that way when you say, I need help with, then I already have all the information of what you need to take in or out of your diet, rather than just saying, hey, eat all of this food and you're going to do great, right? Because in 6 weeks, you're not going to do great, right? And then you're going to think it's you failing, but it's going to be me failing you as a coach. So you have to find the stuff that works for you. And then that's what I do. I just study food logs. Like it's like a science project.
Could you explain the difference between what you do as a wellness coach and someone who is a nutritionist, solely a nutritionist? What's the difference between those two?
So a nutritionist is going to help you with your food, right? They can count your macros and help you with your calories according to your activity level and those things. And as a wellness coach, we look at the whole picture in itself. Like, when do you work out? What is your sleep habits? What is your stress level? Stress has a huge impact on our metabolism and how we carry fat around, and people just don't realize that. Do you have sugar? I have a diabetic son. So he, just from sitting in the doctors with him and hearing about what insulin drops feel like, and him and his doctor talking about food combinations and why they work and how they work, like I just got to learn so much about that. And then in my own athleticism, like I'm running an Ironman, right? And I'm like, oh, I'm starting to feel like this. So, you take all of that knowledge and you put it together. And so that's what I teach my clients, is how to take these symptoms and these signals that your body's already giving you and use your food. And I don't like to use that word manipulate, but you manipulate your food to work for you. and benefit yourself.
Yeah, and I really do think it is like something that can seem intimidating at first, like if you don't know anything about it yet, but you learn and you grow. And then if you have a good coach, someone who's teaching you, they're not giving you the answers, they're teaching you how to figure it out for yourself. I think that's just, it becomes easier and easier. And then the next thing you know, you're not counting calories or weighing your food because you know what 4 ounces of chicken looks like, and you know if you have a blood sugar drop at this time, all you really need is X, Y, and Z. You need more protein at lunch or whatever because you've learned it all. So I think it's really important that you're like coaching people on how to make this last for the rest of their lives, not just like, here's your 6-week program, you lost 25 pounds and now you don't have me anymore and now you're going to gain it all back, and plus depression because you're like, what did I just do that for,
Yes.
So
that's another thing that you like. I want to bring up is I always get is, what can I do after this has happened? It's like, no, you gotta catch it. We gotta keep it from happening. We gotta stop chasing our lows and our sugar imbalances, and we gotta figure out what's creating them and start the process there.
And then you start there and build upon that. It's not necessarily a what's next, how do we change? It's what do we add? How do we manipulate our food differently?
Right. So it's like this whole thing, like, well, what snacks can I carry around? So when I have that 2 o'clock slump, no, you need to work on your 12 o'clock lunch to balance out your 2 o'clock slump rather than chasing it with coffee and sugar. Hunter.
What would you say is one of the biggest misconceptions people have about nutrition?
Oh, boy.
I mean, I know what I think, but I'm curious what you think.
I don't even know. The biggest misconception, I think, is always that it's the carbohydrate thing. Yes, people are so confused about carbohydrates, and carbohydrates are just so important, and they're important for your hormones. Your hormones thrive on your carbohydrates. Currently, I eat more carbohydrates than I do protein right now, just according to my...
Yeah. Well, I think everybody is like in a different part in their journey, and you can't just switch from one thing to like, that was one of the biggest things I learned when I went into that, was like going from carb cycling and low carb, and like, I have PCOS, so carbs are bad, right? And then working with a trainer, and he was like, you need like 150 grams of carbs a day. They have to be the right carbs. They have to be good carbs, good quality, complex, not simple, and stuff like that. But in order to get there, I had to start I was at one point doing, 25 grams on low carb days and 100 on my high carb days. So it was like, okay, well, we're going to get you to 80 consistently, and then 90, and then 100. And then it was like adding more and more food, where I was like, I'm dieting, I should be taking away, but he was adding it more. And guess what? My body was responding the right way. And it's a process. You have to heal from the damage that can come from these like crash dieting, or even the horrible eating patterns we have as stylists,
Our systems are so hijacked by what we have done to it. It's crazy. So when I was going through my process, I tell you, I bought probably 4 or 5 different programs, and I would get them, and I'm like, you have got to be kidding me. This is absolute bullshit. Like, one was like it was like a printed on a computer paper, like 3 sets of, this, eat this piece of toast. I'm like, what is this garbage I just bought, right? Yeah. Like, where is I feel like shit when I do this stuff. And no one was like responding back. And it was like, and then I'd get some workouts, they were below where I was, And again, like, I'm like, I don't like these workouts. And that was like what you're saying, like, you need someone to say, like, you need to add a little bit here, and you need to pay attention to these signals. You can't just be, here, go try this and have fun doing it, because your body just doesn't react that way.
Well, it's like there is an oversaturation of people who call themselves trainers, and like there isn't always that life experience or lots of research. It's like, I'm 21 and I'm cute and I got this sponsorship and now I'm a trainer, and I've never struggled with my weight in my life, or I've never done anything but go to high school and then become a personal trainer and live in the gym, or like, it can be like, okay, well, what do you really know? Like, what have you been through?
That's the thing, though, is right. We all know the basic knowledge of its calories in, its calories out. And when you're 20, that basic energy output input that all works. You can drink.
It
beer,
does. Yeah.
You can drink. Yeah. Right. I did it. I drank coffee and cigarettes.
Coffee, beer, and cigarettes.
Yep. And then I went out all night drinking. And then my friend and I, we would go to the gym in the morning. It's like, oh, okay, yeah, that makes sense.
Work off the alcohol.
Yeah. Yeah. But you know what? It does, right? It works for the 20-year-olds, or it works for people. But when you get to the bones of it, it's like when you ask them a straightforward question, why isn't this working for me? And they cannot answer you. That is a clear picture that they only know one way to do something.
Could you you talked a little, or you said through your process, could you share a little of your journey from starting wellness to now sharing tips, tricks, and offering services regarding wellness?
So wellness as far as when I started, or wellness from when like a whole fascinating part of this all came together. So first, I had such severe symptoms going through this perimenopause phase that my bladder was in atrophy. This is a real thing. So I had to use a catheter to go to the bathroom. So that happened for 6 months. Bladder didn't work for 2 years. I was on an antibiotic for every month for 2 years. So finally, after my 5th and final doctor, so one of the things I did was I did hypnosis. Because I was supposed to have surgery done, and he said, this is in your mind. He said, you have, somehow the doctor first told me it was like my mind over my bladder kind of function. And I thought, well, if you can install a piece of equipment to make my bladder work, then I can get control of my bladder myself. So I was like, I did hypnosis, and I did it for, I don't know, like a couple of months. But I realized how much I liked, obviously it didn't work because it was not the problem. But I learned how I liked to be quiet and just have quiet space, and how my body actually started to respond differently when I was sitting in a quiet space. So I ended up needing different kind of medication, which took care of all of my bladder issues. And when all of that happened, I thought, now I have a synthetic drug keeping one of my organs alive. Like, I need to look at my life a little bit differently here. So that's when I decided that I needed to take a different approach. And I had to really find out what was going on in my body, because I'm thinking, if I'm 50 right now and this synthetic drug ever fails me, like, where will be at 70? Like, I never want to have to use a catheter again in my life. Okay, let me just say that. So I was like, you got to get your shit right. So that's when I took this integrative approach, and I just looked at every single thing in my life. And the first part I looked was at my nutrition. And once I started to make changes, this shift was fast when it started to happen. But then I took like the things like hypnosis, and I started to learn more about self-care. And then I started to learn about my cortisol in my body, and things like that just make a humongous difference. I mean, I had one client, she just texted me. She switched out her coffee for ashwagandha in a tea in the afternoon, and she says her stress levels have come down. Like, this is how powerful your food is in your body, but you got to take the time, and you got to know that you are important enough for it too. Like, when I came to that point, I was like, there is no way I'm going back to feeling the way that I was feeling. I cannot live 50 more years like this. Like, how do women do it? This is why there's so many crabby bitches out there. I'm telling you, those crabby old ladies, because they didn't get right with themselves.
No, I completely agree. We have somebody that works at our salon that's been talking about this medication that she's on, and how, like, she's been told since she was in her 20s that she's going to have to be on it for the rest of her life. And me and my other fellow hippie coworker are like, no, you don't. Like, it's BS. I was like, add some Celtic sea salt into your diet. Go on a walk for 45 minutes in the morning. Drink water in the beginning of the day instead of your coffee. Like, those small things, start there. If you need more changes, come talk to one of us. Like,
yes.
and it's just, we get the diet industry, the pharmaceutical industry. I mean, I'm not talking smack on it, but this Ozempic is like now touted as like a medical
God.
miracle, and it's this weight loss drug, and I think it's great, and I know plenty of people have lost tons of weight on it, but the truth of the matter is how many people are teaching you how to set up your habits while you're on this drug so that once you come off of it, you can rebuild the muscle that you've gained that is way more pivotal to your longevity than the over presence of fat cells. The lack of muscle is more dangerous, and most people don't know that, and they don't think about that. And it's like there's so much like, oh, this miracle drug, and drink this tea, and do this diet, and yeah, cutting out carbs is going to make you lean out because you're going to drop water weight and all this, but it's like your brain needs it for fuel, and there's a huge lack of like actual knowledge and education out there because people just want you to like buy their program or
Yeah, it's funny
product.
because people just want to think it's because it's estrogen or it's progesterone or it's just a woman's thing or whatever. But the truth of it is every time you hijack your system, you're hijacking all those other hormones. When you go days without eating, your hunger hormones get confused, right? You're satiating, like all those things. When you smell food, your mouth waters, right? Your stomach grumbles, right? Like your body starts to wake up and it's like, hey, yo, food's coming this way. So all the systems start to work. And once you start to stuff those systems and it doesn't get the reward it's thinking that it's going to get, well, guess what? It doesn't want to work for you anymore. And then you got to get it moving again. And that's where we start to see those symptoms on the other way with this reverse dieting. And if it's not done right, you can't just be like, I feel great and go eat. It doesn't work like that. In Ozempic, and like you said, it is great if you can it's like the old gastric bypass. Unless you learn what's happening, you're going to be in the same boat, if not worse, because that is the biggest hijack right there. Ozempic hijacking your body. It's terrible.
It made me lose my hair. It made I was working out 4 to 5 times a week, but not gaining any muscle. As soon as I stopped taking it, muscle was like, you can ask Ericka, it was like day by day, you could see the muscle grow.
Yeah.
It was insane right after I stopped taking it though.
Well, and it's a big thing, which obviously you know this, but like Ozempic, you just lose your appetite, like you don't eat, so
you
it's
have
like,
no nutrition in your body.
No nutrition in your
That's
body.
why your hair falls out.
You don't have any minerals. You don't have any calories. You don't. And the biggest thing for me when I started working with a trainer was the amount, like a balanced trainer who knew what he was doing, was like, he'd be like, you need to eat this. And every time you would plateau, instead of cutting your calories, he'd add food. And like, that was a big mental block for me. And I'm like, I can't eat this much food. I'm going to get fat. I'm going to get fat. Like that, like kind of fear. But it was like, once I started seeing it work for me, and I'm like, oh my God, I've been lied to my whole life,
I mean, this calories in, calories out business has got to stop. Like a kind bar and 4 ounces of chicken are the same calories. Okay.
Yes.
Like what kind of a response do you think your body's going to have over a kind bar, over a chicken breast, right? And people are like, I want the quick fix. No, you need the good food. Okay. And people are like, it's not convenient. Okay. Whatever there is processed, there is the equal opportunity in the prepared food. You can buy a bag of cut up chicken that's already cooked.
Yeah.
Cans of tuna fish, cans of chicken, cans, like, don't give me your crap.
You can throw 2 pounds of chicken in the Instapot and cook it without even thinking. And,
take 6 breasts, throw them in the crock pot even. Yes.
Totally.
Yeah, and you got to get the calories in, calories out of your vocabulary.
Yeah, because I feel like it doesn't really work past 21.
Yeah, right.
So going back to the stylist side, what are ways that stylists can stay healthy and well behind the chair, like snacking wise, or what are things that we could pack during the day that are those good foods that you're getting that energy from the food that you're eating?
So the best thing that you can do is prepare whatever it is that you want. So you can do, Greek yogurt and fruit and, 10 nuts, something like that. You can do turkey rolled up with avocado. Those are so easy. You can do prosciutto wrapped in cantaloupe. That's one of my favorites. Those are really balanced.
Yummy.
That's an interesting snack.
It's so good.
I bet
yes.
that's so good, sweet and salty.
Yes, perfect. Yeah, sweet and salty.
I like it.
You can make chicken salad, and you can eat the chicken salad with some whatever spinach while you're mixing a color. You can do that. I promise you, you can. Right?
I've been
It's
slacking
just-
lately, but I used to just leave chicken, lettuce, like stuffed, and throw a taco salad together in the fridge, you know?
Mhm.
So it's just like fast and it's there, and I don't necessarily have to remember to bring it to work with me, but it's in there if I need it. And then at the end of the week, I'm like, all right, big salad. Gotta eat it all.
And the biggest thing is you got to stop hijacking your system. You have got to stop starving and go into that 2 o'clock coffee,
Yeah.
especially the one that's full of sugar. The more you do that, the more your system just going to get thrown off. And then as you start to age, all of these things start to erupt more. So you can take like maybe one color and maybe in the middle of the afternoon and don't double book that color. Take 15 minutes just to eat or drink some water. Just have a little bit of an awareness. That would help tremendously.
Baby steps, maybe.
Baby
I will
steps.
say the second that I cut out having coffee all day and only had my 1 cup of coffee in the morning, that just because I enjoy it, it changed a lot. I was less tired in the afternoon, and that was just from stopping coffee all day long
Yeah.
and drinking water in replacement of coffee.
Yeah, coffee
So
can
imagine-
affect your blood sugar as well, right? And there's no carbohydrates in it. And people say, well, how does that happen? Well, that it happens. It's just the way that your body works, right?
Well,
So,
it's a stimulant, so it's
yes.
sending your nervous system into hyperdrive, which pumps out cortisol.
Yes, it says all the things.
Disrupts everything.
Mm-hmm.
Yes.
Let's see. So we talked about snacks. Would you say, meal prep obviously is a huge part of that. What is your advice for, like, let's say you have a client who works like me, 4 days behind the chair. Would you say doing like 1 meal prep a week, or would you recommend doing 2 or just however it fits into your lifestyle?
Do you mean like meal prep?
Like, do you recommend someone meal prep 4 days worth of food and have it
Oh,
ready?
so the way that
or,
I mean,
like,
I meal
yeah.
prep the same way every single week, and I just buy what I like and I just cook it. And then through the week, I just put different combinations of it together.
Gotcha.
So I buy chicken, ground chicken and ground turkey, regular chicken, and I'll make chicken salad. I'll make, meatloaf or meatballs or whatever, and then I just throw them in the refrigerator, and then every day I just grab 3 meatballs and some spinach or whatever, and that's my mid-afternoon snack or lunch. But prep is the key, and if you can't prep, I mean, that's cool too. You can get rotisserie chickens. You can get, as I said, like frozen. You can get frozen fishes, all of those things. Probably no one at work will like you if you bring your frozen fish. So maybe
Also,
that
don't put broccoli in the air fryer.
Don't do that
I
Good, though.
refuse to eat broccoli because of that. Okay,
I love it.
because of the smell.
I
Oh,
cannot stand cooking it. It smells so bad.
I love
Broccoli
the
is my
smell of
favorite
burnt heart
vegetable.
broccoli.
It's so funny. It's like every time I do a client call, it's like guns up on the first week. It was like they're like, "I'm not going to eat this," and I'm like, "Good. I don't eat it either. I don't eat broccoli. I
Yeah.
can't stand the way it smells." No.
I love me some broccoli.
I love some broccoli. It got to a point, though, where Ericka was bringing broccoli so much that she moved the air fryer to the back door, plugged it in by the back
and
door,
open the back door.
and opened the back door and put a fan behind the air fryer.
I no longer attempt it because one of our coworkers is pregnant, and I don't.
Just don't want to hear it.
Yeah, so I don't air fry broccoli at work anymore. But as soon as that baby comes out, no, I'm just kidding. What else you got?
So what is your approach to coaching someone getting started on this journey?
What is my approach?
Someone who's never took value in their nutrition and their wellness comes to you and they're like, I need help. I don't know anything. I don't know how many calories I eat in a day. I don't care how many calories I eat in a day. What is your approach to getting them to take it on without the overwhelm of learning all of these things? For example, Ericka gave me a book to read. Skinny girls don't eat salads.
Skinny chicks don't eat salads.
Yeah. And that was enough for me to understand the basic principle.
Mm-hmm.
And then I could build off of that.
Mm-hmm.
So always, as we start, right, we're going to start with your goals, and then we can go from there. Most people, it's weight loss, and then some of it's blood sugar issues or get off medication, or their doctor told them that they have to do it or whatever. And we just start with a goal. And step number 1 is you have got to do your food logs.
Mm-hmm.
Food logs and your exercise logs are where I get all of my information from. So usually after 4 days, I mean, I don't care if you don't know anything. All you have to do is just put your food
What you
in
do
there.
eat, yeah.
Put your food in there. And I show you how you can measure and weigh different foods according to what you're eating. You can even just use your hands. You know, if it's a protein, it'll fit in the palm of your hand. Mark that as a serving.
Mm-hmm.
So I just go from there. You got to meet them exactly where they're at, and then we grow and build from there.
Mm-hmm. And would you say that you absolutely have to weigh your food and do all of these things in order to live a healthy life?
No. I mean, did your grandmother weigh her food? No. That's another thing. This is we've confused it so much. You've just got to get back to who and what you are. And this is another thing. We all grew up in different cultures and different environments. Our parents viewed food differently, right? Like we all sat at a different dinner table. Those are the things that are important when you're looking at people's food logs. And this is what you can see as far as their meal timing and how they put together food and what their relationship with food is as well. You can see all of that in their food logs. And you got to take it all into account.
Because whenever you say weighing food, you have to weigh your food, get your portion sizes, all of that. None of that, I'm like, I don't want to do any of that. I have no desire to do
so
any
you don't
of
have
that.
to, I mean, you have got to have a log, and you've got to have some general idea of what you're eating, like as far as weigh or measure or right. And then that's how you learn how to adapt.
Mm-hmm.
And of course, you can just look at something and say, this is enough because you know what your meal balance is.
Mm-hmm. I would say, yeah, like I was very intimidated by that whole weighing, measuring, counting calories stuff, but if you weigh your protein for 2 weeks, you know what it looks like, and then that's not a part of what you have to do anymore. It's not a thing you think about. You are like, okay, I have this chicken prepped, I need 6 ounces. That's close enough to 6 ounces.
Mm-hmm.
And that's it. You know what I mean? But in order, you have to teach yourself how. It's kind of like she was saying with like, nothing. Okay, step number 1 is not you have to eat this much protein, this much carbs, this much fat. It's keep track of what you're eating so I know where you are.
Mm-hmm.
You know what I mean? And that teaches you that. And then it's like, okay, so then the next check-in, maybe you're like, okay, so I see right now the biggest thing is you're not getting enough protein. So we're not going to focus on anything other than getting enough protein for these next 2 weeks. And then they can do the next step, right? I assume.
Mm-hmm.
Is that kind of, yeah.
Yeah, we'd do a weekly check-in. And then, of course, it's like whatever goal they're working on, it very baby stepped. And you said something that I wanted to tag on to, and I forgot what it was.
About starting where you are?
Starting where you are. No, it was something after that. No. Logging.
Weigh your food for 2 weeks.
Oh, yeah.
And then
Oh, so generally speaking, yeah, it's usually a 12-week process. Mm. Yeah, and then the only thing you cannot do, you cannot drink any alcohol for the first month while we go through this.
I love that.
And then we can figure out where it fits into your life after that. But for that first month, we gotta.
Okay, so I have another question. You talk a lot about hormones on your page. Like what you're sharing is a lot about hormones, women over 40, all of that stuff. Mm-hmm. There's like several questions that stem from this. So first question is, what kind of doctor or like what are you looking for in order to test your hormone levels? Can you do it yourself? Do you need a doctor? And where do you even go?
This is the newest buzzword, hormones, on Instagram. It is making me bananas. First of all, I don't even know if you know this, but I do not have a television anymore. So today I have the television on, and it's test your own hormones at home. I'm like, this is such a bunch of bullshit that everybody is jumping on, and it's going nowhere fast, right? You gotta find intelligent people to help you. I went through 5 doctors. Okay, I just told you this, and I mean, I was symptom after symptom. And I went my first doctor. I moved, so I had to start with new doctors. And I walked in with my new doctor, and I'm like, these are my issues, yada yada yada. And she says, yeah, you should go through perimenopause. And I was like, okay, so can we talk about hormone replacement and those things? And she says, do you know what the side effects are? And I said, yeah, but like I told you, like my bladder doesn't work, like, right?
I kind of don't care what the side effects are.
So she says, do you know what you need? She goes, you need an antidepressant. She goes, I'll prescribe you some Paxil. That was my face as well. I was like, what? She goes, clearly you're having an issue with letting your body go through this naturally. I'm like, my body is not going through this naturally is the problem, okay? So there went that doctor. And then I went and saw a urologist. There went that, right? Yada, yada, yada. All the way down. I was seeing the top doctor in the city. And it was so crazy because I said, like, this is my bladder doctor, my urogynecologist, right? He is the specialist in urogynecology. That is both your bladder and your gynecology, right? That is women. And I'm like, this is happening and that is happening. And he's like, what does that have to do with your bladder? And I'm thinking, what the fuck is happening? Like, how many doctors do you have to just get some answers? So finally, my doctor was like, Megan, she goes, go see this woman. I'm like, okay. So I went, and she's a nurse practitioner. She is certified with the menopause board. And she's like, what you got going on? And I'm like, this is what I got going on. And she goes, well, let's just try this. We haven't tried that. And I'm like, okay. A $25 cream after $6,000 worth of medical bills, all of these things. I was scheduled for surgery in 2 weeks, and I got this cream, and now I'm fine.
What was it? Wild Yam cream?
No, it's extra estrogen cream.
Oh.
But see, this is the biggest, this is also a falsehood, that your blood work, all of my blood work was in normal range. And I was still having these very severe symptoms. Number one, I'm going to say this, is do your homework. Don't talk to your 75-year-old gynecologist that you are so proud that delivered you. Stop talking to him. Get somebody that knows some real science. You got to know your family history. Yes, there's some side effects that come along with it. That is why I have chose to give up all alcohol. That's why I don't drink. Because I'm like, I cannot hijack my system anymore if I have to include all of these synthetic drugs in my body. Like, I can't just keep putting all this stuff in there. So you got to be able to have a conversation, and you got to stop talking about your blood work. You have to start getting to your symptoms. And your symptoms, even if you can't take HRT, which is, hormone replacement therapy, you can get a lot of symptoms relieved through your diet and your exercise. You got to stop jumping around with your dumbbells. You got to get out of your CrossFit classes. You got to get walking every day. Focus on your self-care and get on your food logs.
Yes, I agree with that. Well, and I think, Hunter, one of your questions, which I'll just go ahead and ask, is obviously you're a woman.
Yeah.
You're talking specifically to women with the hormone part of it. But what about for guys? Because as women, I feel like it's kind of this whole new thing that we're even realizing that, like, we weren't even included in some, like, healthcare studies until very, very recently.
Well,
you know what I mean? So I feel like there is a lot of information out there for guys about, like, testosterone and, like, this type of thing. But what should a man be looking for? They don't have menopause the same way we do, but what are signs and things that they could be looking for to know that maybe they need some help too?
So the interesting thing is that we are left out of a lot of studies because our bodies are so complicated. When I tell you that I investigated this. I've just read so many books from doctors, from physicians, not from fitness influencers, not from BS, fad, diet bullshit, but actual hormones and, actual experts in the field. And our bodies as women are so complicated that they're almost impossible to study on a broad spectrum. That's why it's so important for you to be able to do your own homework and understand what your body is going through, because there's not any one thing that's out there that's going to fit, because we're so complicated.
Yeah.
Men are so different in that way. Their systems, I mean, I hate to say this.
Simple
in like
beings.
This,
Yeah.
they're simple beings. Our bodies were meant to grow
Yeah.
children and to feed them. And like all of those things make up who we are as a woman. Men don't have that, right? Their systems are way less complicated, right? So that's...
Go me.
Go you.
Must be on.
That's why you can just like go off Ozempic for a day and get muscle. I have to go in the gym and like 6 days a week and get a little bit of muscle.
Well, you know what else I think is pretty interesting that a lot of people don't realize too, especially like since we're talking about male and female and hormones. Dudes, obviously, their like master hormone is testosterone, but that women actually have more testosterone than we do like estrogen, and that just kind of controls it. And like there's so much changing and shifting in our cycle. Like I saw this thing and it was a guy who was talking about hormones, and he was saying how women are like different people throughout the month, but like that's actually healthy. Like we're supposed to be that, because each phase of our cycle has different hormones and different like strengths, I guess, that
well, yeah,
come
like even
from
like
each of
you,
this.
yeah, like you said, you had your PCOS, right? And
Yeah.
I didn't have that, so it's clearly my symptoms are going to be different than your symptoms, right?
Totally.
So that's why it is just, it's crazy to be able to study all of these hormones.
Yeah.
Again, I lost my train of thought as you were talking.
Surprise. I think what I was asking about was like men. For
Well,
men,
men,
what are it's just a little easier for them.
It's way easier for them, but they do still go through those same symptoms. Yeah.
So what
Of
do you have
fatigue.
male clients?
I don't right now. I don't. I could certainly look at some food logs though. And that's the thing though is that like I said, like this hormone thing is a buzzword. If you came to me and you had colitis, I'm not going to be able to do the same kind of help for you. I would certainly be able to help you and research with you, but you got to find people. I mean, if you want to find someone that's actually been through it, ask them, what was your experience with X, Y, and Z? See if they actually are an expert in their field. What makes them an expert, right?
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
When I tell you when I went through it, I have been through it. Like reverse dieting, it was the worst metabolic damage that I could have ever done to my system. I did 3 Ironmans. Like just to be able to fuel your body for 14 hours in a day, it's just fascinating to me, right? So your body can just adapt and grow, and it's amazing. So
Bodies are amazing.
They are.
Have you been to the body exhibit in Vegas?
No, I haven't been.
Human
to Vegas.
bodies. You didn't.
Mine is at
that's
the
right.
I do love the physical body, but I told you I got my corrective movement specialty,
yeah.
and I learned about the whole kinetic chain, and now I just did a job shadow program with one of the physical therapists that's associated with our gym, and I was like, oh, and then what happens this and this and this, and it's like it is so fascinating to me. All of it's fascinating.
So do you plan on like making this switch fully out of the salon for good and out of the hair industry, but just staying focused with hairstylists in the fitness industry?
There's a lot to unpack right there, Ericka.
Yeah.
So first, I have to say that my lease is up where I'm at, and I'm retiring my chair at the end of March.
Oh, wow.
And that'll be, 35 years. And I was just thinking about it this morning because, I knew I was coming in here, and I was thinking, 35 years, like everything that I know and everything that I ever learned came from hairdressing. The amount of people that sit in your chair and just share their personal stories with you is absolutely like amazing to me. And I think like this feels like it's going to be the same kind of a thing, but is it? Like there's a kind of like a little bit of a, I don't know, like a nostalgia there for me. I've been doing it since I was 16, and I'm going to be 51 in a couple weeks. It's like, no, wait, I'm going to be 52. Shit. I'm going to be 52.
It doesn't really matter.
Yeah, so 16, that's all I've done is, I didn't even, was I telling you this? That I had never was even in a hair salon before I started working at one.
Yep.
The neighbor across the street used to cut my hair. She cut everybody in the neighborhood hairdresser across the street. We just all went over there and got our hair cut. Never even been to a salon.
How funny. And now look at you. You're like...
Right.
Oh, I'm telling you, my family thought I was absolutely nuts. They wanted me to go to nursing school. I was like, gag me, okay? I was like, I'm totally going to hair school. So I was like, they're like, you're going to go poor. I'm like, how can you go poor when everyone in this world has hair? All you got to do is be good at it.
Yeah.
I'm like, I was going to just be the best hair cutter that I can ever be. And how do you go poor at that? And I've never been poor. So that's what you got to do. You just got to be good at your shit. You got to know your shit. You got to be at the highest skill level that you can be. Study and learn. Never stop learning.
And where did you...
35 years, I've always went to continuing education.
Yeah.
I probably spent more on my education than these people that went for their psychology degree.
Yeah.
They feel like they're smarter than me.
Yeah.
I'm so glad that we're not live right there.
We're keeping that.
Well, so where did you grow up? Upstate New York, right?
Upstate New York, yeah.
So when you started...
I grew up in this, in this very small white neighborhood. I didn't even know anybody wasn't Catholic. Right?
There's humans that aren't Catholic.
Yes, did you know that? I mean, then I was like this whole Jewish thing. And I was like, really? Like, it was just so fascinating to me.
That is
so
hilarious.
Fascinating. I just loved everything about hairdressing too because of it.
And it was a very similar story growing up in a small town in Tennessee, East Tennessee, where you happen to live now. So weird.
I know it.
But everybody thinks like, oh, you're going to be a hairdresser. You're going to go broke. You're going to have no money. And
it's the best gig going. How do you go poor? I don't understand.
Yeah. I like the way you said it. Everybody has hair.
If you are not making money, you are in the wrong environment.
Mm-hmm.
Period.
That is so true.
And you got to feel like you're worth it, though, to move on. That's what all of
Did
this
she
comes
just pop
down
a
to.
tear bubble?
That's
Okay.
what it
I was
always
like-
comes right down to it, right? Are you worthy? Are you worthy of all of it? Are you worthy of the job change? Are you worthy of your price increase? Are you worthy of losing weight, getting like all of it, all of your goals? You've got to come to the point where you are worthy of it. That's it. That was another thing I was going to say.
Oh, yeah.
When you were talking about something earlier about rest, so now I'm getting my health certification in integrative nutrition through the Institute of Integrative Nutrition. Do you know Deepak Chopra?
Of course I do.
My sister has that certification.
No.
People know who he is.
He's a motivational speaker.
He's an
guy.
Indian. Anyway, he's an Indian doctor, but he teaches he's a Western medicine doctor. Anyway, he is one of the professors that teaches. So anyway, I've been going through. It takes a year to get through this whole thing. Anyway, I just learned about this whole thing on sleep the other day, and I was like, it again, so fascinating. People do not understand how important sleep is. Mm-hmm. They're saying that you are hijacking your system with these sleeping pills, and you're not going into your proper dream states, which they're finding is related to dementia and Alzheimer's and those things, because your body needs for the memory bank.
Recover.
For the memory bank that needs to go into the REM, then to the dream, to the REM, to the dream. They go back and do all these fascinating things. So that's it. Like that's my clients. Like you come to me, we need to rest. It is so important. This is why we're just seeing an increase of everything is just on overload.
Because we're in this hustle culture.
Absolutely.
And hijacking our systems with uppers and downers and uppers and downers. And our body does not know.
Food.
Yeah, and our body doesn't know what to do.
You know, the Blue 42, it really...
Not only that, not only food coloring, but just like all these preservatives and shit that's in our food. It's like
I tell all my clients to get the Yucca app or the Yucca app,
Yeah.
right? It just is a free app. You can scan the food, and like we were talking, like the one food, it was those quinoa burgers.
Mm-hmm.
Those were actually a good rating. There was no additives in them. But then like a turkey burger was in the frozen food section right next to it. Was total garbage.
But it had a bunch of additives.
Yeah, so you can't just focus on, because people say, is it in a bag? Is it in a bag? Okay, well, frozen vegetables are in a bag, so there's nothing wrong with them. Just pull them out and heat them up, right? So stop thinking that all processed food lives in a bag or a box. It doesn't. Just be aware of what you're eating and what you're willing to, switch out or give up or sacrifice.
I like the switch out or give up because it's like if you just the little small changes over time compound. Like for me, I cannot start a new diet and fitness routine all while maintaining drinking a gallon of water a day all at once. Like I will
No.
miserably fail because then I'm like, oh, I didn't drink this and I messed this up and now I did this and blah 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 blah. Like it has to be a like, okay, I'm gonna wake up and journal, and then in next week I'm gonna make sure I chug a glass of water, and then you know what I mean. Like you have to compound it because, and those will like you will make changes if you do
Yeah.
small things. You
I
know,
just started a 6-week challenge. Well, I'm on week 3. So I started a 6-week challenge 3 weeks ago, right? For
Halfway through.
Because my birthday was in 6 weeks, so I figured we'll do a 6-week challenge. We'll celebrate you, celebrate me. You'll have these positive changes. We've made one challenge, per week, so that at the end of 6 weeks, you now have adapted to 6 new things.
Yeah.
Yes. And the first one was to find 10 minutes a day just to have quiet time.
Mm-hmm.
Then last week was week 2 was walk 30 minutes a day. And then this week is to advance on your plank. Wherever you are at your plank, either add time to it or add difficulty to it. So you're right, like you got to do it in little incremental steps. You can't take it all on all at once. And you got to start where you're at.
Mm-hmm.
I love it.
I do too.
You have
I was
anything
gonna
else?
say, I think it's just really important that you're like talking about that too, about like the mental health mind part of it, because a lot of times diet culture is very like you were saying, calories in, calories out. How do these pants look on me? That type of thing. But if you're wanting it for longevity and lifestyle change, like the mental health, the mental game part of it
Yes.
is so huge.
So yeah, and it's interesting because like for me, I'm 51, right? So I grew up with our mothers dieted. They learned dieting, right? So we learned that, but then we also learned to work out. So we were like the first generation to like work out and do step aerobics and cool stuff like that. So we had both of them going on. We had the fitness culture and the diet culture mixed up, and now we're at this point where like, wait, what is all this that just happened? Because I thought I had a good control over this. And it's like, you got to unlearn all of this kind of stuff and get back to basic stuff.
Well, and then the second half of your life, you have to learn it all over again because your body's not the same either.
Oh, gosh.
Which is
no.
like huge. And there's a big thing about like, oh, well, she's getting older. Like you get older, you're going to gain weight.
Oh my
you're gonna
gosh.
lose
If I
muscle.
heard
And
one more
that
time,
is,
you
like,
better deal with it.
Yeah, that is like the biggest chunk of malarkey, because it's like, okay, things have changed, but that doesn't mean you can't still build muscle. You can't retain it. You don't have to be on this downhill slope,
No.
So
That's another thing I learned was I have more muscle now than I did 5 years ago by changing my workouts and changing my food.
Yeah.
And that's another thing. My client, I just had a phone conversation. She's like, I just have so much muscle soreness and acheness. And I said, you're doing the wrong workouts. I said, you gotta work on your joints and you gotta work on your trunk stability. Yeah. That's where you gotta go when you get over 40. You gotta stop jumping around with your dumbbells and you gotta get the hell out of CrossFit. There's no reason to do 45 snatches in 2 minutes. There's no need for that once you get 50, I swear.
I agree.
And all those women that said, oh, you just wait, honey. And I was like, as if that's going to affect me.
Yeah.
Already. Yeah, and now here I am. Like, those bitches were right.
For me, I know, like, I had my son young, and I was, like, young and very vain. And so I was, like, terrified of being fat and gaining weight, and my body's going to get ruined. And then I had him, and I did gain some weight, and I did have trouble getting it off at first. But getting into better shape after I had a kid than I'd ever been in before, and like getting over that fear of gaining muscle and understanding that if I want to look feminine, I have to have muscle so I can have shape, and that it, just the nutrition part of it. It's like there's kind of these ideas out there that's like, oh, you gain weight when you have a kid and then your body's ruined, and then when you get older and you hit menopause, then you're going to get weak, and then as you get older, this is going to happen, and your mental decline is going to happen. It's like, it doesn't have to, but you have to take care of it now, and you have to start like with healthy habits now. And be willing to adjust when your body adjusts too.
That's an important thing you bring up too about the muscle thing, right? Because it's two things. People want to lose the weight, which is all cool and fine, but you gotta, like, if you could literally imagine your bones, right? Your skeletal system, and then just your fat, right? What's going to be under that once you start to lose weight? You're just going to be having that saggy look. You need some structure under it. That's what your muscle gives you. It gives muscle to your, your skeletal bones, right? And it helps to protect them. When you also have, the more muscle you have, the more calories you can eat.
Are required to keep your body running.
Yeah. Yes. So it's got and the more fat it burns, right? So you have all of those things going for you too.
Yeah.
It goes hand in hand, definitely. But you got to be doing, again, the right workouts for you.
And everybody's different. All righty. I think that's...
Where can people find you?
So you can find me on Instagram.
Okay.
And it's Tru with no E. So TRU_. Nutrition and wellness.
Okay. And how can someone work with you if they are interested?
Thank you. On there I have an application page that you can go right on there. And if they're not on Instagram, what would that look like?
Do you have a website?
I do. It's not updated though.
Well, update your website.
So get an Instagram, follow Tru with no E _ nutrition and wellness.
Well, no, then yes, Facebook, and Facebook, and then I am trying to start my YouTube channel.
Ooh.
Because I would like to get more information out there, because people need to understand, and you can't do it in a 5-second reel. Like,
right.
The importance of, like, what is food logging? What is a sugar crash feel like? What does afternoon fatigue feel like? What is a fatigue versus muscle soreness? Like, how do you read these different things? Do you need to eat more? Do you need to eat less? Is it your workouts, right? It's all of those things.
That's actually really good information, because, if you don't know if you don't know the difference, you don't even know what you're experiencing.
I said this.
That's a really good thought, though.
I had a call one day, and I said to my client, I go, she had a hip issue, and I said, so is it like an aching hurt, or is it like a stabbing, or is it like it feels like it's going to give out? And she's like, no one's ever asked me that before. And I'm like, what? Like, this feels like information that someone should know. And again, like, if it's fatigue or if it's soreness, is it a mental thing? Like, you just don't feel like doing it? Or is it an actual fatigue? Or is it something like going on? So,
well, and what's the difference between fatigue and soreness?
So,
I genuinely want to know.
Well, this is the interesting thing is that with the lack of estrogen in your body, that it affects your muscles. And one of the things I was scheduled to do as well is they thought I had MS. At one point too, because of the I had neuropathy in my feet, and I had like my quads would Charlie horse in the middle of the night. I mean, it was so weird to me. And I was working out. I was doing the same exact workouts that I had done for years. I'd been lifting weights for years, and I was doing the same thing. So when I started to learn more about my body mechanics is when I learned that this is the wrong workouts for me. You have got to focus. When I started focusing on my trunk stability and just my overall core mobility, my joints don't ache, and my Charlie horses went away.
Was that like, when you say core trunk stability, like you had little muscles that were like not doing their job or something, like stabilizers?
Yeah, like first of all, my trunk, right? So planks and those kinds of things. And then my glutes I've worked on, and my shoulders. Okay. So all of the muscles that are closest to your trunk are going to be the ones that are going to create the distal mobility. So if you're having problems with your wrist or your shoulder, for your wrist or your elbow, it's coming from your shoulder. If you're having a problem with your knee or your hip, it's coming from your glute. So this is what we do, is we start to focus in.
Okay.
Then that way, when you start to build those up, your hip. So I had an IT band problem for 7 years. After I ran my third Ironman, I had an IT band, and it was always stretch and roll, stretch and roll, stretch and roll, and I could not get it to go away. So finally, I went through this. I work with a personal or a physical therapist at the gym, and she's like, Megan, that's like old science. And I was like, well, shit, okay. So I went back when I got my corrective movement specialist, and in there I learned about the kinetic chain, about trunk stability, all of that, and I changed my workouts, and my IT band problem is gone. In 6 months, I've gotten rid of it, and it was 7 years of stretching and rolling.
And you could have gone to a doctor and they would have prescribed you like an anti-inflammatory.
Yeah.
Do you know what a doctor wanted to do? He said, I'll do exploratory surgery. Yeah. I'm like, do people sign up for exploratory surgeries? I'm like,
people
no.
actually do that? Absolutely not.
Maybe if I had terminal cancer or something, like I was gonna die.
I'm gonna die
either
anyway,
way.
so what the hell?
Yeah.
But
Yeah.
like, no. I'm like, no.
No
So yeah,
surgery.
but that's another thing that is just, and of course, as you age, your trunk and your lifestyle, all of that, like you gotta think if you slip on ice, like this is all that's happening.
Yeah.
Then your hip gives out, your knee gives out, and this is how people end up with replacements is because they don't have the stable joints, and you got to work on the muscles that are surrounding those stables.
To stabilize the joint.
Yeah.
I love it. This is a lot of really good information. Thank you.
You're welcome. That's what I was like. Oh.
So we told him where to find you.
I know. What do I do about that? Would you leave my phone number?
We can do that if you want. Yeah. Or if you have like a jot form, if you wanted to make a jot form, we can put a link.
I have a Stan store that's got my Calendly link in there.
Oh, perfect. So then, send us the link. We'll put it in the description, and then you can find her at the Stan store and schedule from there.
Oh, yeah. So you can set up a call. You can either go through and sign up for coaching, and you can fill out the health questionnaire that's on there, or you can just schedule a call, and we can go through what the program looks like. And it's 24-hour access. I do Zoom hours every once a week for an hour. You can pop on a Zoom. We can go over any of your food logs, any exercise questions that you have, anything like that. And then we do a weekly check-in, and then I obviously give you all my feedback as I do it. And the most important thing is you got to be ready to do it when you call.
Mm-hmm.
I hate to say it's your money, but it's your money. But this is important stuff, and you can really learn a lot.
Mm-hmm.
People that go through the process love it.
I think it's fantastic.
Well, if you want to follow us on our social medias, I'm Herrick's Hunter on all the things.
I'm Ericka the Redhead on all the things.
Our podcast is Break Room Banter Pod on all the things. If you want to find additional ways to support us, we have a Patreon page. That's www.patreon.com/Break Room Banter Pod. And until next time, remember,
You always have a seat at our table.
Bye.